What's going on, guys? Ezra Rozier here. On Sunday, we improved to 4-0. We won the game. I really don't want to minimize that, especially since this was a Tampa Bay game, and God knows we've had some terrible games down there over the past few years. 2018, when we got fried by Ryan Fitzpatrick and our old pal Deshaun Jackson. The 2021 playoff game against Tom Brady. The 2023 playoff game where we missed like 50-something tackles. And the regular season game last year, the loss we had right before we went on this 20-1 stretch. This is a team, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, that has given us a lot of problems. This is a stadium, Raymond James Stadium, where we've had a lot of issues. And to go down there in that scorching heat and to come out with a win against a team that has really terrorized you recently, that is a big, big win for this Eagles team. And a very young season still, only 4 games in. This was a Buccaneers team. This team was clutch, this Bucs team. This was a battle of 3-0 versus 3-0. The Buccaneers, they had 3 consecutive game-winning drives heading into this game. This was a Buccaneers team that had not had a single turnover. They had not turned over the ball before Sunday. And the Eagles made key plays against a very hot Buccaneers offense. Baker Mayfield, He is a MVP candidate, in my opinion. Baker Mayfield, he does his thing. He puts up numbers. And this offense with Bucky Irving, Chris Godwin just came back, Ibuka. Like, this is an offense, nothing to scoff at with this Buccaneers offense. And the Eagles made key plays to stifle that offense. Before we get to the negatives, let's talk about the positives, because there is a lot of positives to take away from this game. Shout out to Cameron Latou. It's funny because after everything that happened last week, right? We're down 26-7 against the Rams at Lincoln Financial Field, playing like absolute garbage in the first half. Lane Johnson went out early with a neck stinger. Like, the team just looked horrible in the first half. Zach Bond was the only good thing about that first half against the Rams. And then that game, we eventually come back and win it on a blocked field goal by Jordan Davis return for a touchdown. And not to mention the earlier block in that game by Jalen Carter. And then this Tampa Bay game starts out with a blocked punt by Cameron Latou, which is recovered by Sidney Brown for a touchdown. Our special teams is elite, ladies and gentlemen. That is 3 blocked kicks in 2 games. Back to back. In fact, 3 straight blocked kicks. Like, that is unheard of stuff on special teams. To block 3 straight kicks in 2 games, back-to-back games, that's unbelievable. So Cameron Latou, he blocks the punt. Sidney Brown recovers it for a touchdown for us to go up 7-0. The first half of this game was great. I felt that the first half of this game in Tampa Bay was a continuation of what we saw in the second half of that Rams game last week. I loved the play calling. We were throwing the ball. In fact, Jalen Hurts, right? So a common theme in previous games against the Buccaneers was how Jalen Hurts, he really couldn't get a lot going with his legs against the Bucs. Like, this guy, Todd Bowles, he's a defensive mastermind. I'm not the keenest of him as a head coach, but when it comes to defense, I really like Todd Bowles. He brings a lot of pressure. He knows how to send the blitz. And Hurts, he has struggled against the blitz in the past. Like, the narratives before this game was like, oh, the Eagles, they can't win in Tampa Bay. Jalen Hurts can't beat the blitz. Jalen Hurts can't outplay Todd Bowles. And he did do it. In the first half of this game, Jalen Hurts outplayed Todd Bowles. He outsmarted Todd Bowles in the first half of this game. The first half of this game, right, Jalen Hurts was 15 for 16. 2 touchdown passes. He only had 1 incompletion. And he was able to get a lot going with his legs. There was one point where Hurts, he had like a 24-yard run on the sidelines to set up like 1st and goal. He had another few runs to convert first downs. Like, he was getting stuff going with his legs. And that's something that we had not seen with Jalen Hurts against the Buccaneers in the past. The play calling in the first half of this game, I really liked. The shovel passes to Dallas Goedert, twice that worked for touchdowns. You had 2 shovel passes to Goddard converted for touchdowns. That was the old Donovan McNabb, Brian Westbrook play that we saw with Andy Reid back in the day. Like, the first half of this game was amazing. I saw an Eagles team that came out with urgency. I saw an Eagles team that came out angry. I saw an Eagles team that was fed up with the narratives. Fed up with the narratives that they can't beat the Bucs. Fed up with the narratives that they can't win in Tampa Bay. Fed up with the narratives that Todd Bowles owns Hurts. Fed up with the narratives that Jalen Hurts can't beat the blitz. Jalen Hurts was 8 of 9 against the blitz. Just one incompletion against the blitz in that first half. The first half of this game was fantastic. The play calling was creative. We were throwing the ball. We weren't scared to throw the ball like we've seen in a lot of moments this season. The first half was great. It was great. The defense really clamped down. Quinyon Mitchell had the best game of his career in Tampa Bay last Sunday. He was very sticky. Cooper DeJean had a really good game too. And that one, unsportsmanlike conduct penalty he got for doing the Allen Iverson step over, that was so soft, guys. I get that they've cracked down on taunting, but come on, guys. Come on. That's as bad as Nolan Smith, what he got called for in week 1 against the Cowboys. The first half of this game was amazing. We were up 24-6, absolutely beating the crap out of the Buccaneers in Tampa Bay, in this scorching heat at Raymond James Stadium. The Buccaneers in this first half, they didn't even look like they belonged on the same field as us. They had 99 yards. The Eagles had 200-something yards. It was just a complete beatdown in that first half. But then the second half happened. Why the play calling in the second half was completely different from what we saw in the first half. The play calling it was two different play calls. Philly 500 was saying how he feels that there was 2 different play callers. The person calling the plays in the first half didn't call them in the second half. I'm inclined to believe that. I'm inclined to agree with Philly 500 because our second half play calling, they reverted back to the garbage that we saw in the first 10 quarters of this season. The second half of this game in Tampa Bay was very similar to the first half of that game against the Rams. Why revert back to the garbage we saw early in the season after what worked so well in the second half against the Rams and the first half against the Bucs? Why revert back to that slop? Why? This second half, man, how many times are you going to run the ball on first down? I swear, we run the ball on first down more than any other team in the league. It's every time we're on first down, you know that we're going to run the ball. And we run it the exact same way, right up the middle. You run it the exact same way every single time. And the Buccaneers see it coming. The Buccaneers, you can tell by the way the linebackers were lined up in the backfield. On first down, they know what is coming. They know we're going to run the ball. Why do you run the ball on every single first down? I just don't get that. The way I see it, you're just wasting possessions because you're already putting yourself behind the 8 ball because you're going to have a loss of yards or a 1-yard gain. You're setting yourself up for 2nd and long, and then that's going to lead to a 3rd and long. It's you put yourself behind the 8 ball. You set yourself up for failure. You set yourself up for a stalled drive when you run the ball like that on every first down. Saquon Barkley, first down. Stop running the ball on first down. The Buccaneers are prepared for it. They know that you're about to do it. Why are you so predictable? Why are you so vanilla? Why are you so conservative? Why are you so limited? We went right back to what we saw in the first 10 quarters of this season before that second half against the Rams. Why would you go back to that after seeing how your offense woke up in the second half against the Rams? How your offense continued to roll in the first half against the Buccaneers? Why would you go back to this conservative, bland, vanilla, limited play calling? Why would you do that? What's wrong with you guys? Nick Sirianni, Kevin Patullo, what was this game plan in the second half? Did you just think that because you were up 24-6, you could just get conservative and then just win the game by just playing not to lose? Did you get comfortable with that 18-point lead? Did you get comfortable with that 24-6 lead and you thought that you could just run the clock out to win the game? That's not going to win the game. You can't take your foot off the gas. Why are you taking your foot off the gas with this team, the Buccaneers, that has embarrassed you? That has embarrassed you throughout the Jalen Hurts and Nick Sirianni era. This team that has made you look terrible throughout the Hurts Sirianni era. You remember 2021 at the Link, Thursday night game? Zach Ertz's final game with us. We traded him the very next day. They were up 28-7 on us. In the 2021 playoff game, they were up 31-0 on us. In the 2023 playoff game, they beat us 32-9. We missed like 50-something tackles in that game. Last year, regular season, where they were up 24-0 on us. This team has made you look terrible. This team has made you look like crap. This team has punked you. This team has bullied you. You can't take your foot off the gas against them. And that's what we did. In the second half, the Eagles took their foot off the gas against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Jalen Hurts went 0 for 8 on passes in the second half. 0 for 8. He did not complete a single pass in the second half of this game. In fact, a lot of people thought that Jalen Hurts actually suffered a concussion in the second half when he was running one play and he tried to slide and he took a hit. Apparently his head bounced off the grass and he just didn't look the same after that. I will say, being at this game, he did not look the same in the second half. In fact, a lot was made about A.J. Brown, his tweet after the game. The issue wasn't A.J. Brown not getting the ball, because Jalen Hurts did target A.J. Brown a lot in this game. There was one sequence in the second half, I believe Jalen Hurts threw at A.J. Brown 3 straight times. 3 straight times, and he couldn't come up with the ball. The second half of this game was so frustrating. We only scored 1 touchdown in the second half, and that was only because we had Jalux Hunt force a fumble on Bucky Irving, which was recovered by Kelly Ringo. That set us up on a very short field. And honestly, if it wasn't for that short field, the way we were playing in the second half, I don't think we would have capitalized off that turnover. And speaking of that drive after the fumble, we ran a fake brotherly shove. Saquon Barkley, he easily waltzes into the end zone. I love that. That's a great call. Why can't we see more creativity like that? Like, where's the consistency in the play calling? Like, we have no consistency with this offensive play calling. It's like, you don't know what you're going to get with this Eagles offense. We are such a Jekyll and Hyde offense. It's frustrating. We are too talented to be struggling this much on offense. We have too much firepower. We have too much talent on offense to be struggling to move the ball like this. It's inexcusable. You have A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, Dallas Goedert, Jahan Dotson. You should not be struggling to move the ball like this. It's frustrating. Like, thank God for Jalux Hunt forcing that fumble, because I really don't believe we would have capitalized on that turnover if it hadn't been such a short field. Case in point, late in this game, 31-23, Baker Mayfield makes a terrible play. He's trying to scramble away from the pass rush. He steps up. He makes a terrible throw, and it gets intercepted by Jihad Campbell. Shout out to Jihad Campbell, by the way. He had a stop earlier in the game on third down. Jihad Campbell's playing very well. And after that interception, we have an extremely quick 3-and-out. We don't even capitalize off of it. Admittedly, we were set up deep in our own territory, but the fact that you couldn't get anything off that turnover like you did earlier with the Bucky Irving fumble, that was very disappointing. God, it's like, and it's something about the Buccaneers kicking long field goals against us. Right before halftime, we were up 24-3. The Buccaneers kicked a 65-yard field goal. That is the longest field goal outdoors in NFL history. The longest successful outdoor field goal in NFL history. What is with the Buccaneers kicking these long field goals against the Eagles? In 2006, Matt Bryant beat us with a 62-yard field goal at the buzzer, Raymond James Stadium. That was the year where Donovan McNabb, he went down with an injury against the Tennessee Titans, and then Jeff Garcia filled in. We actually did end up winning a playoff game against the Giants before losing to the Saints in the divisional round, the game where Sheldon Brown knocked the crap out of Reggie Bush. It's like the Buccaneers, what is with them in these long field goals against the Eagles? I swear, the Buccaneers just have this habit of powering up, playing to their absolute highest level against the Eagles. It's like the 2002 NFC Championship, Rondé Barber's pick six, the final game at Veterans Stadium. People were saying all week the Buccaneers can't win in the cold. They come in, they dominate. A lot of Eagles fans, you will find a large majority of Eagles fans, they point to that loss, that game against the Bucs at the Vet, the final game at the Vet. A lot of people say that is our worst loss in franchise history. There were people crying at that game. The very next season, we opened Lincoln Financial Field. Who comes into the stadium and shuts us out 17-0? The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The final game of the Vet, the Buccaneers beat us. They go on to win the Super Bowl against the Raiders. The first game at the Link, the Buccaneers come in. They shut us out 17-0. That was the game where Sylvester Stallone showed up at the Link. He has not returned to the Link since then because he felt he was a jinx. I mentioned 2006 with the 62-yard field goal at the end by Matt Bryant. 2015 where Jameis Winston, a rookie quarterback, comes in and throws 5 touchdown passes. Doug Martin runs for 200-something yards. The game I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the video, 2018, Ryan Fitzpatrick throws a bomb to Deshaun Jackson on the first play. This Buccaneers team, they just have something. There's just something about playing the Eagles that makes the Buccaneers rise to the occasion. And you saw it in the second half of this game. We were up 24-6. And then the Buccaneers in the second half of this game, they made it clear that they were not going to be blown out on their home field. Man, and we did survive. We survived the game. We did survive the Buccaneers. The defense, I still believe we're giving up a little too much in the run game. Bucky Irving, he did a lot of damage on the ground. He had a costly turnover, the fumble, but I do believe he was doing some damage to the Eagles on the ground. Baker Mayfield had 2 70-plus yard touchdown passes in this game. One to Ibuka, one to Irving. Didn't like that, of course, but outside of those 2 touchdown passes, I thought that the defense played a very good game. The defense, we made key plays against a hot Buccaneers offense that had not turned over the ball prior to this game. You had the blocked punt. You had the block. Well, that's really a special teams play. I wouldn't say that was against the offense. You had an interception by Jahad Campbell in the end zone. You had a fumble forced by Jalen Hunt, recovered by Kelly Ringo. The Eagles, as frustrating as this Eagles team has been, they do have a habit of making key plays in key moments. And to do this against a clutch Buccaneers team, which had 3 game-winning drives in the 3 games before this, I think that showed a lot that the Eagles, they know how to win. The Eagles are the only undefeated team in the NFC and one of just 2 undefeated teams, the other being the Buffalo Bills. The difference is that the Buffalo Bills have played teams that are very struggling, teams that have not looked good. The Baltimore Ravens, the New York Jets. Who did they play last week? I can't remember who the Bills played last week. The Saints. I know they just played the Saints. The Bills have not played a very good team so far. The difference is that the Eagles have played very competent-looking teams. The Cowboys, they're 1-2-1. They're not great. They beat the Chiefs in week 2 in Kansas City. They went into Arrowhead and beat the Chiefs. That's not easy. They beat the Los Angeles Rams after trailing 26-7. They had a 19-point deficit, and they came back to beat a very potent Rams team, and they just beat the Buccaneers. That is a very tough slate of games to open the year. You start out with a division rival on opening night, and then you have 2 road games against teams that have won Super Bowls, and then you have a game against the Rams where you're down by 19 points. You come back to lead. The Eagles have faced adversity. The Eagles have not looked great this season, but they are, regardless, 4-0. 4-0 despite not even looking like they're maximizing their full potential. 4-0 despite Hurts not completing a pass in the second half of this Tampa game. It's such a strange team, a very strange team. And it's crazy for how much we've struggled on offense, the Eagles have scored a touchdown every time they've been in the red zone. I believe we have 11 touchdowns in the red zone. We have the best red zone offense in the league. And to win this game with Lane Johnson going out early, that happened in the Rams game too. If you guys remember, Lane Johnson left the Rams game in the first quarter with a neck stinger. Matt Pryor came in and was getting abused by the Rams. In fact, on our opening drive of the second half, he got beat by Jared Verse. Verse smacked Jalen Hurts. He fumbled the ball. It was recovered by the Rams. The Rams scored a touchdown to go up 26-7. You can make a case that Lane Johnson is our single most valuable player. Like you can see a difference when Lane Johnson is not in the game. We struggle without Lane Johnson. You saw it in the game against the Rams. Matt Pryor was getting cooked before Fred Johnson came in. And then against the Buccaneers, like I felt that there was a difference after Lane Johnson left the game. Like Lane Johnson is a Hall of Famer. A lot of people, they like to dunk on Lane Johnson for the whole PEDs incident in 2016. That man, Lane Johnson, he is a stud. He is going to be in a Hall of Fame. So this game next week, we have the Denver Broncos coming to town. We have a very stingy defense coming to the link this week. This offense, you guys got to get your crap together because the Denver Broncos, Patrick Surtain, I love that defense. That Broncos defense is something special. And that's no disrespect to their offense. Like I like Bo Nix. I like Cortland Sutton. I like Mims. Jerry Jeudy. He used to play for is Jerry Jeudy still on the Broncos? Well, no, he's on Cleveland. I scratched that. Jerry Jeudy, he doesn't play for the Broncos anymore. I like the Broncos offense, but their defense is what really powers that team. The Broncos defense is something special. And if this offense doesn't play better, if this offense isn't consistent, they could lose to the Denver Broncos. We can see an end to this 20-1 stretch the Eagles have been on where we've just shown dominance, just consistent winning. You have to be better on offense if you want to beat the Denver Broncos because that defense, that is a nasty defense those Broncos have. No joke. No joke. You can lose this week if your offense messes around like they did in the second half of this Tampa Bay game, like they did in the first half of the Rams game. You have to be better on offense. Like Nick Sirianni, Kevin Petula, you guys, please be better. Please. I get we're 4-0. I'm grateful for that. I'm very happy that we're 4-0. But everyone knows that this team is not playing as well as they could be. Everybody knows that this offense can be doing a lot better than it is. And it's like, eventually it's going to catch up to you. It's going to catch up to you eventually. We saw this in 2023. We saw it in 2023. You start the season 10-1. We were winning games aside from that one loss to the Jets without looking great. We did not look great during that 10-1 stretch, but they kept winning. And then eventually they played the 49ers, got destroyed by the Niners, and then they were never the same. They were never the same. They went 1-6 in their final games to end 2023, including that blowout loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs where they missed like 50 tackles. Don't let this be another 2023 season. Like the play calling is reminding me a lot of 2023. The play calling is giving a lot of Brian Johnson vibes. You don't want to be compared to that Eagles team. You don't want to be compared to that Eagles team that started the year 10-1 and then finished the year going 11-7. You don't want to be in the same company as that team. Like, be better on offense, please, guys. We have too much talent, too much firepower. You shouldn't be struggling to move the ball like this. Why? I'm saying this every week. You should not be struggling like this on offense. And I see glimmers of great play calling. The second half against the Rams, the first half against the Bucs. I know you guys can call a great game, so just do it. Just do it, man. But final thoughts. The Eagles, despite looking terrible in the second half, they go on the road. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, a team that has really given them a lot of issues. Key turnovers in this game. The fumble by Jalix Hunt, the interception by Jahad Campbell, the blocked punt by Cameron Latou. There's a lot of positives to take away from this game. I know that I'm speaking negatively about the second half, but there really was a lot of positives from this game in the first half. The first half of this game, if you play like that, you can beat the Denver Broncos. In fact, our next 4 games, it goes Broncos, at Giants, at Vikings, Giants again. I really believe we could be 8-0 heading into our bye week. I really do believe that. The Broncos, you get them at home. They're a great defense, but I really believe that we should win this game next week. The Vikings, J.J. McCarthy should be back by that time of that game. that would probably be the most tough one besides the Broncos, going on the road to Minnesota to play the Vikings. I don't think Carson Wentz will still be starting by that point, but I believe we could beat them. And then you have the New York Giants. The Giants, they're a division rival, so those games, they could always get crazy. And they actually just had a huge upset against a 3-0 Chargers team. The Giants, even though they're 1-3, the Giants have an extremely deadly defensive line. That pass rush the Giants have, that could give us some issues. Saquon Barkley, we've seen a lot about how Saquon Barkley doesn't look explosive. People saying how he's washed. We're not running the ball well, ladies and gentlemen. But it's not because of Saquon Barkley. I don't think it's a reflection of Saquon Barkley. It's just the offensive line is not playing well, ladies and gentlemen. We're not seeing the same lanes we saw last year. We're not seeing the same blocking we saw last year. The offensive line is struggling. It really is, ladies and gentlemen. Landon Dickerson, he's playing hurt. Cam Jurgens, I'm pretty sure he's hurt. Lane Johnson, you just saw him leave 2 games in a row early. The offensive line can be playing a lot better than they were playing. And the thing is, with the Giants, as bad as their record is, that defensive line, I believe they can give us some issues with how we're struggling on the offensive line. Like Abdul Carter, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns. That Giants pass rush is no joke. That Giants pass rush could give you a lot of issues on offensive line if you don't tighten up, guys. But regardless of that, I do believe we should be 8-0 by the time we reach our bye week. The Eagles are set up very nicely. We are 2 games up on the Green Bay Packers, who just had a tie with the Dallas Cowboys. We have a tiebreaker against the Los Angeles Rams. We have a tiebreaker against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you win just one of these games on our schedule remaining against the Packers and the Lions, just one of those games, even if you split, I still believe that you'll get the number 1 seed. I really do believe that. We are set up very nicely for the number 1 seed as long as we take care of business, as long as we win the games we're supposed to. In fact, the Green Bay Packers, to tie with the Dallas Cowboys on Sunday Night Football, I'm feeling a lot better as a Cowboy. If I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm feeling good about that tie. If I'm a Packers fan, I'm feeling terrible about that tie. Nobody thought the Packers would lose that game. Well, let me frame it better than that. Nobody thought the Cowboys would win that game. We all thought that the Packers were going to roll over the Dallas Cowboys. The Micah Parsons revenge game. The Packers are better on both sides of the ball. We all thought that the Packers were going to just stomp on the Cowboys. We thought that the Packers would crush the Cowboys. And early on, it looked like that was going to be the case when they were up 13-0. But then, once the Cowboys blocked that extra point and returned it for 2, that's when the momentum changed. You got to give a lot of credit to the Dallas Cowboys for coming back to tie that game, a game where nobody gave them a chance to win. Like, nobody thought the Cowboys was going to win that game. Nobody had them even being competitive with that game. And somehow, some way, they ended up in a tie with a Packers team that a lot of people were calling Super Bowl favorites. They did have a hiccup against Cleveland the previous week, blocked field goal, and then the Browns, they kick a field goal of their own to win the game. I feel like the Packers have been exposed, man. We all knew the Cowboys had a terrible defense, but the Packers defense, they got shredded by Dak Prescott in the second half of that game. Like Dak Prescott, who didn't have CeeDee Lamb, George Pickens, Javonte Williams, the Cowboys offense looked very good in the second half of that Packers game. And listen, this isn't me glazing the Cowboys, by the way, because look, I'm an Eagles fan. I hate the Cowboys. It's just me being objective. Like even if you hate a team, I feel like you should still look at their game objectively. Like don't let your fanhood get in the way. The fact that the Packers, they couldn't beat that Cowboys team with a terrible defense, a Cowboys